Hello everyone, I'm Sophie and I'm currently at Kechara Forest Retreat, Bentong, Malaysia. And this is the book that I'll be sharing from, Unleashing Buddhanature, Personal Accounts by Those Touched and Reformed through the teachings of His Eminence the 25th Sam Rinpoche. Today I'll continue on the story by J.P. Tong, and this is on page 20. Let me go to a picture to share with you. There you go. This is Mr. J.P. Tong. So this paragraph I've read, I've ended on this paragraph. So for this, I will start with this paragraph again because it's something that leads us on into the story. Right, page 20. Becoming the head of the Ladrang department marked the turning point of my life. Every day became a training regime that pulled me in the opposite direction of my hedonistic tendencies. The change was stark. From being a party animal to shunning social outings for a whole year, I had to learn about the functions of the Ladrang from scratch, from setting up altars to organizing audiences for Rinpoche, to cleaning the domestic area, managing Rinpoche's household and coordinating all his events and projects are round-the-clock responsibilities. I was working 15 to 18 hours a day. Our team kept irregular sleeping hours and were often still bustling about after the world had gone to bed. It was grueling. One morning when a few of us were chatting casually with Rinpoche, my head was spinning from exhaustion. I hadn't had a wink of sleep since the day before, and I had other tasks waiting to be done. So in the middle of the conversation, I blurted out, "Why are we staying up talking about frivolous things? I'm really tired and I don't think I'll be able to do my work effectively during the day." To my surprise, Rinpoche just laughed. He then replied, "Nothing I do is frivolous." This I realized to be true. Everything Rinpoche does trains us to be ready for emergencies. He makes us stay up all night so that we will practice being alert at all hours without being attached to the comfortable habits of having to sleep at a certain time. He's cancelled events and projects or throws a wrench in our plans without warning, and this cultivates our flexibility in solving problems. Rinpoche's reasoning is that our work of serving others cannot be done according to our own comforts and schedules. Someone may need assistance in the middle of the night, and in my experience, the calls for help do come at odd hours. Most importantly, Rinpoche is helping us to break our self-made restrictions, the limitations that we grasp on to because we are used to them. For instance, I drew clear lines on what I liked and disliked, what I could and could not do. But this hindered me from living up to my true potential. This self-cherishing mind is ego. Rinpoche helps us to see that we can be whoever we want to be, if we would only free our mind from serving the me. I mean, just look at me now, a vegetarian. I never thought I could do it because I loved good food. Eating was one of my favorite pastimes. I would travel the world to dine at the finest restaurants, and not having meat on the menu was unimaginable. I was really happy that I was not required to be a vegetarian when I first joined Kechara. Time went by, and one day, Rinpoche suggested that I go cold turkey on meat. I was taken aback, but I did not want to disobey my teacher, as he was the one guiding me to the path of salvation. If being a vegetarian was what it took, then I would give it a shot. The first few months were hell. I missed my old diet terribly. Given time, however, my palate adapted to a vegetarian diet, and the smell and taste of meat became repulsive. It has been 6 years now since my last meat dish, and I am doing fine. The act of eating has even become completely different for me. It is no longer an enjoyment but a replenishment to get me through the day. I eat wherever it is convenient to have meatless dishes. I am no longer picky about what I eat, and this has strangely made every meal more pleasant. It was a training that has helped me to be detached from the limitations I set for myself. I liked meat, therefore I must eat it to be happy. Since becoming a vegetarian, I realized what a slave I had been to my palate. More importantly, I discovered that I can change my likes and dislikes if I put my mind to it. They are what I choose, not what I am. We have been in existence since beginningless time, and will continue to do so after this life has passed, taking different forms in different lifetimes. So, who are we? If the person we are now is merely temporary, why hang on to this identity so fervently? Knowing this will allow us to be fearless when the end of our days arrives. Yet, this is not a lesson that I could have learned in my earlier days of studying Dharma. If Rinpoche had made vegetarianism compulsory then, I would have made a beeline for the exit and never returned. But he knows when our mind is ready for more difficult trainings, and he ups the dosage accordingly. I have also witnessed Rinpoche manifesting an illness upon himself to train students who are mummy's boys and girls to take care of a sick patient. From never having to care for others, they have to learn how to serve someone food, be mindful of the timing of medication, and so on. And when their training is complete, Rinpoche's illness would be gone at the speed of that baffled doctors. These mind transformation trainings were, to me, like being 300 kg and trying to swim for the Olympics. My strong attachment to the pleasures of life like food, wine, and parties meant that I was saddled with a lot of extra weight. Shedding it took a lot of grueling exercises, but it was and continues to be necessary if I want to continue on the path of Dharma. I have many other attachments, such as having me time, a luxury I cannot afford when I need to be on my feet at all hours to help the needy. The training never stops. We will just have to keep stretching and stretching until we become the embodiment of compassion. And then maybe I can finally be qualified to ask, what is God? And that was the sharing by Mr. J.P. Tong, who is the head of the Ladrang team. And as he shared, which is true, Rinpoche always gives us baby steps. So each time we have passed or accomplished our training, then Rinpoche would move on to something more difficult. So each time, with each accomplishment, then we get closer to letting go of our attachments. However, we still do have a lot of attachments to go through, so we work on it. And as JP, shared, he has, it's like a 300 kg weight where, full of attachments. And so as we shared, each attachment, then the weight comes off. Because we are always weighed down by our wants, our needs, even though it may be true or not. So that is why when letting go of our attachments, then we feel freer. And also when we are serving others, we are more focused on others rather than serving ourselves. So that is the point of Rinpoche, always making us busy serving others. As JP said, working 15 to 18 hours a day, and sometimes even longer, because there's so much things to do. And the thing is, while we're serving in the ladrang, for me anyway, I find that actually, we are not as tired as we think we are. That we need that 8 or 9 hours sleep. Sometimes we can, you just sleep 2 hours and that's enough to energize. But of course, maybe the body, not for the long term, would be able to take it. But but that's my experience in ladrang. So sometimes we're serving like for a very very long time, and but still we are able to do it. That's the training that Rinpoche puts us through. And as JP also mentioned, that because in the ladrang, we need to, in Kechara, not only ladrang, in Kechara itself, all of us are trained to work at different hours, because we'll never know when someone needs help. And so we should always be ready. Doesn't matter, and don't be attached to our sleep. If the help comes in the middle of the night, the request for help comes in the middle of the night, so at least we are able to instantly, just snap and be able to help the person. So anyway, thank you for sharing your time with me. So the next sharing will be another new student. So join me and find out who is it. So thank you for sharing your time with me, and let us end this with a completion dedication in Tibetan. Chang yo se yo rinpoche ma ke panam ge shi ke panam pa me pa yang gone gondo pe wa shu to ni to rinpoche ma ke panam ge shi ke panam pa me pa yang gone gondo pe wa shu da so ji ni sa pa ge wa di tan tan ro wa guna ka padang je pa je su no san ta pa yi tam ping in porin do sa se shu ke wa gondo yan da la ma dan ro me cho ki pa na lo cho ji sa dam nang yi ya te ra so ne do ji shang ni nga pa nga to so ke wa di yin do da la ma sang ge dre yon dre wa chi ke ma lo pa de sa la go pa shu cho ki ga po sung ga pa cho su nam pa pe wa la ke ki sa masiwadang tungki malo sangwasho dadam sangye dosandan trewe songi latene gewa losan trapai tampayu riva gyu shi ni modele sendele ni migo nyandele shi ni sentato dele pel koncho songi jingilo koncho songi ngodroso koncho songi trasi sho jeso lama kusanam tingching nam ka trini chocho ke badang losam tempe dromi sapsongi dro e musatato ni gyu shi gari rawi ko shingam dem penan dewa malu gyu ni cheren se wanten singet so yi shape shi de baru ten gyu shi cùng tông ping ngô ma lô pa đến đây đó là sel du có đàn đến pa long chọn nam cái pa su shi shuk tân sel. Thank you again, and please do join me for my next session.